Good. Agree? All right.
Be advised that proper notice has been given by the Township Council in accordance with the Sunshine Law in the following manner. Notice advertised in the Burlington County Times and Camden Courier Post on January 16, 2018, and posted on the bulletin board on the same date. Mr. Burrell?
Here.
Mrs. Colodi?
Here.
Mr. Schwartz? Mr. O'Connell?
Here.
Mr. Ketchum?
Here.
Prior to this meeting, I'd like to make just a point. I'm going to be discussing some things tonight. I do not expect my township solicitor to tell me to shut up, which I already received prior to this meeting. And I'm going to tell you, I will be making some statements, and I expect to make my statements when I do make that. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right, so let's start our meeting, and we're starting with the action portion. We have an ordinance on first reading. This is bond ordinance number 2018-07. It's a bond ordinance amending 2018-2, which is finally adopted by the council. And this is a bond ordinance providing for the reconstruction of various roads by and in the township. It is appropriating $1.597 million, including a $193,000 grant from the New Jersey Department of Transportation, and authorizing issuance of $1.337 million in bonds or notes. This is to finance part of the cost thereof and to increase the total appropriation therein from 1.597 to 1.827473, and includes additional grant money in the amount of $230,743 expected to be received from the Department of Transportation. Let it be noted that Councilman Schwartz has arrived.
Thank you. I was listening in the hall as well.
Oh, good. And I need a motion to approve.
Can I give a brief explanation? Because did everybody receive the email? Because I know our email system on this issue. What this is we were waiting on the notification for the $230,743 grant. This is that portion of the grant. We got the notification, so we want to bring this into that bond ordinance as well. Doesn't increase the borrowing, it just allows us to spend that grant.
That was emailed me today.
That was a couple of days ago.
A couple of days ago. I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Colodi?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Ketchum?
Aye. Next, we have a resolution, actually a couple of resolutions. One is 2018-119. This is authorizing 2018-2019 liquor license renewal for Home Association of Delran.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Colodi?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Ketchum?
I'm going to abstain as I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus. Next is Resolution 2018-120. This is a resolution approving the final change order for the 2016-17 road program contract, and it is a decrease in the amount of the contract of $176,731.99.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Colodi?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Ketchum?
Aye. And finally, Resolution 2018-121. This is a resolution authorizing executive session to discuss an update on the COA litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Colodi?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Ketchum?
Aye. All right, so we have a very long agenda. I'm gonna ask that we all kind of stick to the issues at hand as we're moving along, and try not to get too many side issues involved into the issue that we're discussing. We have lots to go over, and then executive session afterwards. So,
I have a question.
yes, sir.
No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
Thank you, Michael,
A little levity.
for lightening it up. All right, so first is a sewer dispute. Jeff, I'm going to have you explain this.
This is block 125, lot 34, indicates they had a toilet leaking from inside the toilet tank. This is a rental, indicated the tenant did not realize that the property owner noticed the increase in usage. He fixed it, there's no longer a leak. He said he did not keep the receipts, and he did the repair himself. During the time frame that the leak was taking place, there were 24,000 gallons being utilized. Prior to that time, they were using 11,000 gallons. Since that time, they've been using 15,000 gallons. If you wish to adjust it, I would based on 15,000 gallons that they've been using most recently.
Anybody have any questions or concerns?
Did it come for that, Jeff?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Jeff's recommendation. So we're okay to do that? We don't need to do any kind of voting, we're just okay unless anybody has an objection?
We'll be on the public meeting next week.
Okay, so I see no objections, we'll put it on that agenda. Next is the sewer connection for Timber Ridge. This is Jim or Jeff?
Let Jim do
I
it.
can handle it.
All right.
So this is the development plan for Timber Ridge. It's 108 three-bedroom restricted units. They submitted an application to the sewer department for servicing the 808 units through an extension of the township sewer main. We reviewed the application. We've actually been, it's been on file for a while. They did some extra studies that we requested for that one pump station that's right there, the Ridgeboro pump station that they're retying into. They did a capacity analysis. There's plenty of capacity in the pump station. Way more than they need for this site. And then the condition of the pump station is in relatively fair condition, so there's no need for any upgrades or improvements to it. So we reviewed the design, the design's adequate. They do need a TWA permit, which is a treatment works approval from the DEP. Since you are the owner and operator of the system, you have to endorse the application. So at this point, we are recommending preliminary approval of their application and then adoption of a resolution granting preliminary approval and allowing for the application to be endorsed by Jeff or Joe Russell and submitted by the applicant. The applicant pays all fees associated with the application, and they ultimately will have to pay connection fees, which total about between $600,000–700,000 once it's all built out.
Are we approving the plan or just that we're endorsing the application?
You're approving, you're getting the plan, preliminary approval, and you're endorsing the application to submit to DEP. Once that TW is approved, then they come back for final approval.
The engineer's comfortable with the plan as it's been
Yes.
submitted?
So a quick question, the connection fee, it says for each unit will be $6,095 and change,
Yeah.
$6,095. Is that the normal connection fee for any home?
In Delran, yes.
Okay, I just
Yeah, it's
wasn't.
different for affordables and/or townhomes or, attached structures, but for single-family homes,
Okay,
it's the amount.
okay. Do you have any problems with this, any questions, any comments?
Do we have to do it?
You do it at the public meeting.
Oh, okay.
Resolution.
You need a resolution.
You need a resolution adopting the preliminary approval.
And endorsement of the application.
Got that? You're all good?
Yep.
Thank you.
It's similar you did for Hunter's Lane.
Okay, next is an issue of grass cutting at two locations, 10 Mulberry Street and 46 Stewart Ave. And I don't think, this is pretty much just, you want us to be advised of this? We don't need to,
Authorize this as well.
do we authorize this? Yeah.
Are we doing it now or?
We can motion, we can do that, right? Why wait? So I need a motion to approve the grass cutting for these two properties, 10 Mulberry and 46 Stewart.
Mr. Burrell made the motion, I seconded it. It was just really quiet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, let's do all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, Patty. Motion carries. There's a little bit of a delay getting to you through the phone system.
I noticed that.
Okay, next is the estimate for the insurance claim for the netting that was damaged at Community Park. And it's a heck of a claim at $51,000, but I don't know if Jim or Jeff wants to talk about that. It seems pretty cut and dried to me, but it is what it is.
I think you all saw pictures of the netting system that was damaged. There were a number of them that were damaged throughout New Jersey when this occurred. So this is the estimate that we got from the contractor in terms of what the netting itself. I think there was also one or two poles damaged that are included in this. And it's $52,000. There's a $1,000 deductible, so we'll get $51,000. And I just wanted to make sure before I signed off submitting it that you're all okay with that and you're aware of it.
And there's no way we can recover anything from the actual manufacturer?
No, there's no warranty.
At all?
Not for that damage.
Guys, we need to do anything for that? You need a motion or anything? No motion. All right, so we're all good? Nobody has any questions or comments? Next is discussion of the Fairview Boulevard Island. Jim, this is just a question of an update?
Yeah, just an update, we've gotten a hold of DOT access permit, or the occupancy permit division. There is a new person that took over for that position that kind of oversees our region. And his initial reaction was, they didn't think that we needed a permit now, but we're just pushing to set up a meeting with them. We'll sit down and determine whether or not we need a permit, and if we do need a permit, whether or not they'd be inclined to approve it or not. And this way you can, have a better understanding of, before you outlay the cost for design and survey and everything, whether or not it's just a matter of going through the motions at that point, because it will be approved.
Great.
We're still confident it will.
Okay. So that was just an update. Good.
The meeting will probably be in the middle of July, end of July, until they get back to us. And then probably, I guess, Jeff and I would go maybe. Jeff, you want to go? or
Sounds like fun. Yeah, I'll go.
Okay, so next we have the off-duty police rates. Jeff, we have had a chance to explore it. If you want to review it,
Sure.
I appreciate Albert or whomever taking the time to give us some comparisons.
The union had requested, they have not been adjusted since 2015, and they've requested that the off-duty hours be adjusted. They have withdrawn the increases for the school. They have indicated that they'll stay with the same rates that are in that resolution 2015-80 that's in the package on the school ones. They have requested $80 for security and traffic, up from $65 an hour, and $100 for holiday traffic, and $90 for emergency security and traffic with 1 hour or less notice. It's the only thing that I see that's a little different than the other towns we surveyed. Most of them do not have those kinds of increases for holidays and or short notice. Beyond that, the rates are kind of consistent with Florence and Morristown, a little higher than others. The other issue that you might want to consider is patrol car usage. Currently, we utilize patrol cars, and we get $5 an hour on that. And taking a look at some of the other towns, I think you might want to consider increasing that to at least $10 an hour. Most of the times, some of the towns are up as high as 120, but $5 is way low. And finally, we might want to increase the administrative fee to somewhere, currently it's $5 an hour, you might want to go to $7 or $8 an hour. That would fit into kind of the mid-range for the other ones. So if you do want to do this, then we'd have a resolution prepared to change and then the previous one.
Jeff, I have a question. We're still in negotiations with the police, are we not?
We are.
Isn't this part of the CBA, or is this something separate and apart?
It was actually separately done the last time.
No, I'm just asking for my
Yeah,
own
I mean,
information.
you would think that it would be done this way, but they submitted, so I didn't want to carry it to you.
Yeah, it's not unheard of. I've seen things done outside of a contract at different times. And then my other question is, patrol car usage, $5 per hour. Can you explain that? What does that mean?
If you'll see them, or you say PSC&G's doing work, and you'll see the car
Car,
sitting
yeah,
there
okay.
idling,
Yep.
is that we're getting $5 an hour, and that's why we're recommending that go up to at least 10.
I
That's
see.
even on the low end if you look at these compared to the other towns.
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
anywhere from 20 and between 10 and 25 an hour seems to be the rate. So I wouldn't want to see us stay at 5.
Right.
Obviously, if it gets too high, then some of the vendors will start looking elsewhere. But
Is the administrative fee an hourly fee?
yes.
And what does the administrative fee cover?
Administrative fee covers, number one, it has to be run through our payroll, and so we have to do some of the issues, Social Security, things along those lines. So that's essentially it, is it's being run through our payroll, and our supervisors are working. Actually, the union leadership sets up, for the most part, administering
the log, following the log in terms of who gets called out, but our guys have to oversee that as well. And just for everybody's edification, a number of years ago, I couldn't tell you how many, probably 20 years ago, the state came down and said if there's going to be off-duty officers doing work, they need to go through the township's payroll, because if they're not through the township's payroll, then if they were to become disabled or hurt, especially disabled, they wouldn't be covered by the pension system. So there's a system set up where we collect the funds in advance, a contractor comes through, he gives us an estimate of how many hours and what he's going to need it for, he deposits the funds, and then it's run through our payroll account.
I don't have any problem with it as it is, except for that same thing you mentioned. I mean, it would seem that just the gasoline alone, that a car idle on the side of the road for an hour. Not to mention the wear and tear.
Oh, absolutely, $5 an hour, just about cover 2 gallons of gas. Yeah, no.
And what are you comfortable with the car then?
I think it should be, what I'm comfortable with, I think it should be 15. I'd be more inclined to say keep the administration fee what it is and make the car allowance $15.
It's up to you guys.
I think that's the cost. I think that's not even really the cost.
All right.
That's only what I'm thinking.
The lowest is $12.
There's one, none. Florence has none.
Oh,
They charge
Florence or Norristown.
Can we just tie that to the rate? Or that way, it would just be hourly rate, that way it would adjust.
No, it was,
Well, they're getting the hourly rate. So, I mean, if you want to do it, if you want to do it $15 an hour, when we collect it, it's going to be, the $95 an hour for regular overtime.
Gotcha.
Right.
And then we can leave the 5 at administrative if you're okay with that. That's entirely up to you guys. The second item is the issue of bifurcating the issue with emergency and holidays. Do you want to do that?
No one else does anything?
Didn't show up in the survey that anyone was going after. But I mean, it's obviously something that they want to do.
I was actually kind of surprised that the holiday was so close. I mean, I think that if I had to come out on Thanksgiving and Christmas Day, there would be extra $10. I don't know if it would be worth it. But it was pretty fair.
That's
I'm in favor.
$20 an hour.
That's $20 more. No, it was 10 for holidays
Well,
and not 10 or 10 for.
This is $880 and then $100 for a holiday.
Holiday and
and
90 for short
notice.
notice.
Yeah.
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 Any issues with that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
If you pay that for your own project too, something like if we have traffic control from one of our contractors, like Route 30, you're paying that.
Yeah. Okay, we'll put that on the agenda for the public. Okay, next is the TAP grant. And this is, Jeff, we have in mind a link from Notre Dame to Community Park through a trail. My question before we start talking about the grant, is a trail enough? Do we need a little bridge over Swedes Run?
No, yeah,
That would be part of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this type, the Transportation Alternatives Program, that's administered by the DOT. And basically, it's a planning type grant where you use their dollars to, get planning work done, to scope out new projects and do some preliminary designing and planning, in order to, facilitate the project ultimately to construction. For this case, I think Jeff and I discussed this when the grant first came out. We thought of that the trail that we always conceptually considered between Notre Dame Park and Delran Community Park to connect it to is something that we could probably look into doing a plan for, because that's something that definitely needs a planning study for some wayfinding through the woods there, finding where the best way to cross that stream is going to be, and doing some preliminary work to eventually be able to bring it to preliminary design. So I guess we're just looking for the council's consent on putting together the grant application and submitting it to DOT. I think, Jeff, I gave you the original budget number of like 3,000. I don't think it's, I didn't say it in
That
here.
sounds about right.
I can get you something formal with that, and I can include it as a resolution.
Yeah, if everybody's in agreement, we want to make sure that everybody.
Great idea.
It's competitive, it's not, it's
3,000.
competitive, but it's a pretty good project.
Now, I just one question, comment. You said, I guess in the material, it said that it's a very highly competitive grant.
Yeah.
Is it more in our best interest if that trail, like maybe somehow connected out to like Hartford, the Fairview Boulevard area? Where it connects like, you know, the parks, the residential area to a commercial area?
Yeah, I'm sure we're
Like
going to design some
areas?
sort of, we would look at designing, you know, Hartford, basically making a connection between Hartford Road and Notre Dame.
How about also the idea of,
But to answer your question, it's a yes.
how about also the idea of tying in, I know there was some discussion about a veterans walk. If we were to tie in the words of making a veterans walk type, like a trail type thing, you think that would
Yeah, of course.
help sell it?
Yeah. Of course.
Let's call it that.
Yeah, so I'll get you something formal to consider for the public meeting.
Okay. Next is the tort claim packet, and I have to tell you, if nothing else, this would seem like a casual tort claimer would be discouraged by the length and breadth of this.
No, we would never do that.
I'm not saying that we would, I'm just saying it would discourage me. That's quite a set of questions.
You already have in place a tort claims policy that you've adopted. Basically, the only difference between the one you have and the one that the JIF is recommending that you adopt is it's asking the claimant to identify the act or omissions of the public entity as cause for the injury. It's pretty much the only change in the whole package. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same packet that we use. Someone comes in, says they want to file a claim, this is what they're given, and the process they have to. And some of the paperwork was changed because some of the vendors that we use in terms of defense changed, so we've incorporated those into the language. Other than that, it's the same. It's pretty much the same document.
Jeff, the JIF handles, like this claim will go to the JIF.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what they're recommending.
Is it a recommendation or a requirement moving forward?
Well, they're strongly recommending we make the change.
Yeah, that's the problem.
If they want it.
I think we should strongly make the change.
You know,
All right.
Then we'll have a resolution on the public
Doesn't
meeting
like to
to
sell that.
authorize this new tort claim questionnaire.
Okay, next on the agenda is some equipment that we're suggesting to be sold through govdeals.com. Anything out of the ordinary with this, Jeff?
No, this is very similar to what we've done in the past, is trying to clean up those assets that we have that really don't have much in terms of value. GovDeals.com has brought us significantly more money than when we did local auctions. So we've got a list of items here that we'd like to list on there at GovDeals. And if everybody's in agreement, we'd have an authorization for a public meeting.
It's a way to make sure that things that we want to get rid of, not own.
Anybody have any questions? All right. All right, so next is the Jake's Place question regarding the timeline and the budget. And I counted backwards from the build, 3 months, and Jim, as you've indicated, you need 3 months for design, bid, build, and build base improvements. That would start July 4th.
It's tight, but what I didn't clarify in that email is that our contractors, who's gonna do we have to go out to public bid for, who's gonna do like the base work, doesn't have to be fully complete is not going to be, we don't want him to be fully complete for the community build. He just has to have certain prep work done, including the curb. And then after that, there's gonna be some choreography between the community build, our contractor, and the, playground vendor, and the port-in-place vendor, so there's just a lot of coordination.
The important thing that I care about is if we're doing a community build, and our people are doing the base, and I just want to make sure that when the community build takes place with young kids, that it's going to be safe conditions for them to do what they gotta do. I hate to have injuries when they're doing
Yeah, of course.
Be considered summer, you're gonna be able to coordinate all that?
I'm sorry, what-
Well, that's the people away, people.
Well, Michael, the Jake's Place, the playground vendor's doing all the legwork as far as setting up the community build and managing that with his team. And it's not just, I mean, I think that the group he told me is pretty, you know.
Yeah, they've got a
they're not-
commitment of 200 people if it's October 4th. And that's why they're really pushing for the October 4th.
And that is that include residents, or is this some sort of volunteer group?
That's their group.
Their group.
They
So
have 200
You could have
people.
400 hands, or 300 hands there, or 300 sets of hands.
I think that was the whole concept too, is to have our residents involved, because they were big contributors in raising money too.
There's still a lot of details to work
We'll
out,
find a
no
place
question
for it.
about that. There's still a lot of details to work out, there's no question about that. Still finding a way to get every, piece of item or material purchased and within the budget. We have a framework, we think it works. The biggest thing is that is to start getting authorized to proceed with getting the contract we're gonna need. That's not something that's done through the community build or through state contract, we're gonna get that ready, get that.
So what do you need us to authorize in 1 year? I read through it.
Number one is that October 4th, that you'll agree to that date so they can start advertising. They've actually already ordered the equipment, because if they didn't, they wouldn't even make this year. So as of last week, they ordered the equipment. So essentially it is, we're also gonna have to authorize the engineer to get going on his part of it, and there's a little hiccup there in terms of the grant program that we're using, the $200,000 contribution coming from the township on the county park grant won't allow that grant to be used for engineering. So we're gonna have to either do some kind of a trade-off with Jake's Place or come up with $25,000, one or the other. Have them, and what I mean by the trade-off is maybe give them $25,000 towards equipment, and they pay the $25,000 towards engineering. They come out even. That discussion we'll have to have. But I didn't want to do that or have that discussion unless the township council wants me to approach that.
If we did that, would we need to do some kind of legal binding on that, or can we trust, I'm just asking, I don't know. Like, if we were to work that type of thing, how do we hold them accountable for what they're gonna do and us, what we're gonna do? I just wanna make sure that, once we come up with that agreement, I know there used to be a legal binding type thing, but I just wanna make sure that everybody understands what their responsibility is.
We probably have to get a document, because right now all we have is that memorandum of understanding, and that was in general terms, kind of percentages. So we have to follow up with something else, along those lines. And we do know, or we don't anticipate that our portion is going to take $200,000 anyway, so we're probably going to be buying some of the equipment also to utilize our $200,000.
This was Thursday, right, October 4th? Thursday.
Yeah, yes, it is.
So are they doing it in the morning, or like, how's that?
It's gonna be all day, it's gonna be like the 4th and the 5th.
Ridiculous seems to be a problem.
Well, I mean.
I did have a proposal for the engineering costs. but
I think I know what that'll be.
Well, no, I already made.
It was a nice attempt, I have to admit.
Is there flexibility in that they do?
You don't ask, I don't know.
And why haven't they been pushed? I guess if it turns out like, as time progresses, there's another date that they want to choose, like say a week, the following week, or the week, 2 weeks after that. I just want to be aware that it might be like a rain date.
Should be.
So the target's October 4th, but it could be, like say, the following week.
11th.
Yeah.
Well, can you reach out to Jake's Place and just?
I was just gonna say, we need to make
Yeah,
them
I mean,
aware
right
of
now,
that.
the commitment is October 4th, so I'd have to reach out to
Yeah,
them.
so-
Do they do
Yeah.
rain or shine bill, or no?
No, it has to be dry weather.
But generally, everybody's in agreement with shooting October 4th?
Sure.
All right.
Hang on. Okay. right, so next we have the tank weir cleaning, which is Jeff, you gonna talk about this, or?
I'll take care of it. Yeah, this was, you know, one of the projects on the capital improvement plan that you budgeted for. We received bids back in May 15th. There were 4 bidders. The low bid was Eastern Environmental Contractors in the amount of $125,250. All 4 bids were within $10,000 of each other. The highest bid was $134,000, and then they were all in line with the engineer's estimate. So we are recommending, we have worked with Eastern Environmental before, they're a decent contractor. We are recommending award to them at your next meeting for the entire bid, items 1 through 4. There are no deletion items. And in that bid, there is $25,000 in allowance work. So the final contract amount could be very well be around $100,000, subject to none unforeseen circumstances. But we are recommending you award the bid. And Doug's office has reviewed the bids from the bid bond. So you seem to be in a position to be able to recommend award. Or
Okay,
award
so
it.
do we need to award this tonight, or?
I would need a
next week?
resolution at the next meeting.
Public meeting, okay.
Jim, is it allowance, is that like the change order?
It's a placeholder for budget for unforeseen circumstances. Unforeseen conditions you encounter, so you have money available to, pay for it. But yeah, once those issues are discovered, then we negotiate down the price, we usually review it with you and council and Jeff to make sure that's something we pull the trigger on, unless it's like something minor that we know is
Thanks.
not a big dollar amount.
Right, okay, so we'll put that on the public meeting. Okay. So, the zoning board has sent a request to us, and these are always good, that they have a chance to see what is and is not working practically. They simply want to tweak the expiration date for bulk variances. Can you give us an explanation in layman's terms so that everybody's on the same page as to what they're asking for?
Basically, they're asking that, right now, the bulk variance expires within 1 year. And they said typically it would run with the land. They don't say they don't have an objection. And what brought this up is that an individual came in and got a bulk variance for the construction of a pool. And the 1 year expired before they started construction. And now they have to come back and review the process. But they want township council at least to consider amending the section 37-35 pertaining to bulk variances to either make it go with the land or expand it. They're talking 2 years.
So
It's 2 years, the suggestion originally, so they want
to go with, I'm sorry, to go with the land is forever?
Yeah, but they recommended 2 years.
2
I don't
years,
know why it's not
yeah.
on here.
Exactly, it was 2 years, so
It was 2 years.
not with the land.
What are the downsides to it?
No, they wanted to put a pool in and they got the.
Well, in that particular case, but, I mean, is there any downside to leaving like a variance like that just kind of hanging out there
For 2 years.
for 2 years?
I mean,
It's just like you say, like they get the variance and never build it, 10 years go by, and then they go, now I want to build it, and then all the neighbors see it going in, and it's non-conforming, and then there's a lot of, research that has to be done, and people objecting, it's the only thing we're trying to avoid. It doesn't, I don't think it really happens.
I don't think you want to do that. I mean,
Right.
but, I mean, 2 years, the only downside I see is if somebody were to move and not know that something was given in a year and it's coming next year, that's about it.
Yeah,
It's pretty limited
basically
set of
same thing.
circumstances.
I mean, I don't even see a problem with the year. I mean, I think unfortunately the communication is the one that got us in trouble on this one. I think a year still should be sufficient. But I think what happened here is there was communication. The person thought it was 2 years, and that's how we got in that trouble. So my feeling is I think a year is still fine, but
Is there a method for a property owner to extend
That's what I was
the
thinking.
approval already?
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea.
If things happen.
extension of time.
Yeah, but could they have just applied for an extension? Or without changing the regulation?
Your approval runs for 7 years, so you can, or outside of the Approval Act, but you can amend your approval and go back and ask for relief at the board itself. And there really is, unless you're going to amend your.
But would they charge you to revise all their submission? I mean, that's the issue. And that's where I think they don't want to
They
get
may
it.
have to come back before it
That's what I
expires.
think.
In this case, it had it already expired.
They'd have to do it within that 1 year.
Right.
And then they wouldn't have to do any type of resubmission of any type of paperwork for coming back to the board prior to the
Well, this isn't
expiration.
going to
Yeah, I
help
mean,
this
it
property
wouldn't
owner.
I don't think it would be a
If
reapplication.
it expired, it expired, even if you extend.
No, I got you, but
Right,
enough
yeah,
for it.
once it's expired, I don't think the board really had any.
No, I agree with that
ability
one,
to act on it.
But let's say the property owner acted within that year and felt that they may not get it done in that year, can they go to the board within the year still and get an extension without any cost?
I think once construction starts, you're acting on that variance.
So
and
there's
then
a
you
fine
have to
line
wait
then,
till
because
next
once
year.
they get started, then it may change the rule then.
You gotta get building permit.
Yeah, you gotta get your building permit.
If they don't wait, if they wait a year,
Construction has to
they
start
go
within that
to, they go to the zoning board and go through the process to get approval, and wait a
Install
year
out.
time to build it. It's unfair to the board and the applicant professionals, when they do finally decide to build it, to kind of waive everything and have to, and not re-review everything that's been over a year since they last seen it.
Have we had any issues of this before, prior to this one? I mean, has a year worked for, I think a year's still fine. I just
I mean,
think
we usually have the opposite problem.
they work
Permits that have
earlier.
been issued, and the construction takes forever,
Right.
you know, but they're active and they fall within the guidelines.
It's building permit, the building
I
permit
think
takes
a
a
year
very-
is still fine. That's my opinion.
If I understand it correctly, within the year, you could apply for an extension without a cost?
Sure.
I think you would get that.
And I don't see a reason to
Right.
extend.
So can we maybe fix the problem and not try to fix some other problem? It sounds to me like the problem was they didn't know how long they had.
Correct.
And is that not on the approval notification? How
Well,
long?
that
No.
was another issue, the resolution did not state.
Oh, that's the issue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's been addressed, and, but I think what they
I'm not
found in
sure
looking
it
at other.
expired.
But they were able, no, we granted them okay to go and
Oh, okay.
But
continue.
I think in looking at
Yeah,
other
but
towns.
But you're right, though, yes.
They're not showing time.
Yeah.
But as long as we resolve the real problem, which is what you're saying we did, I think
But
we're okay.
I think in
what's-
looking at other towns, our ordinance seems more restrictive than most other towns for variances, and I think that's just why they put the
I
request.
say we say.
So it sounds like we don't have a problem with it staying at 1 year, but we want to make sure that the resolutions clearly define that it's 1
Yeah,
year.
we like to return a request in the other direction, that please don't do that.
Right,
Approve the
exactly.
date, please.
All right, so we're clear what we're going to tell them?
Yep.
Okay. Next is the insurance waiver for vendors for Delran Night Out. I didn't see that in my packet.
Yeah, I mean, me and Jeff briefly talked about, there's a couple vendors, like a school teacher is gonna do the face painting, he gives us a very good rate. He obviously can't, he doesn't have insurance, so he, me and Jeff talked about, there's really limited risk to the township, so we just wanted to ask if council would be okay waiving the requirement for small, vendors at the event.
The question is, are you okay
Well,
with
it's actually the council, mayor and council, because there's certain, when we call around, we've had crafts people and things like that want to come, and it doesn't pay them even to get the TULA program. There's a program where they can get insurance fairly cheap, the joint insurance fund offers, but even that costs a little over $100 for most vendors. And so we've always had one or two that come up at the end, and the council has kind of said, oh, okay, but, if we're going to do that with like artisans or craftspeople that aren't going to create a liability issue, then council should be aware of it, and nobody's authorized that. When I called around to other towns, fortunately, most of the towns, rec programs or things that are similar to this aren't run by the town. They're run by an organization, whether they be the community association that is a private fundraiser, things along those lines. so that they can provide insurance. But if we're going to waive this for arsons and crass people or something along those lines, council should be aware of it. It shouldn't be something that we're doing last second and say, okay.
There's no other alternative with the JIF?
The only other alternative is the TULIP program, and like I said, is that there is an insurance program they can go to, but more than likely.
Are multiple vendors permitted to make one application?
Not really, unless they're an organization or something that have some kind of tie-in, because we've had people try to do that before, and it's really doesn't fit.
This is the first thing I thought of when, was my niece was in Florida and got one of those henna tattoos, and was in the ER 30 minutes later, rushed by ambulance. No one thought that way. I mean, they do it all over the place. I mean, I'm just not really comfortable without someone being insured.
And just realize, I mean, I'm not against it, but just realize we're opening ourselves up. Once we do it for one, we're doing it for everybody, that if it falls under that category.
And that's why it's here, because if you do this, then you're accepting the liability.
Yep.
For the town, so that's why it's here.
So is the, I'm not really involved at all with this, but is the pricing that attractive compared to professionals that would have insurance?
I would say, yeah.
It is a big difference.
Yeah, I think he's charging $650 for two of them, which, if you're talking just the face painters, it's probably $1,200 by the time you do it professionally. They make it, it's a good side hustle, apparently.
Yeah.
I might make a suggestion.
No payment.
Without the insurance, because I know that this came up with Delran Day, and in the past, where, we've kind of helped connect some vendors who had their own liability insurance, who would sponsor and insure the activity.
We talked about that at the meeting of sponsors for activities, but we're not.
I mean, like, it wasn't an official action, but it's, I think that there was the one kid who did the artwork, and like that, I know that, the apartment complex, like they bought the booth and provided liability insurance and all that stuff. It didn't cost them anything, so I don't know if that there's an alternative. Has nothing to do with a question at hand, but maybe a suggestion that the company would step up and cover it.
Tyler, do you foresee any other vendors that would fall into this category?
Not really. I mean, there's the guy who does all the AA photos, volunteered. He wants to do like a photo booth and take pictures with everybody. But I think he has insurance. This is just more of a high school teacher, art teacher, who said, me and my wife will come out and do it for you. I mean, we can go that route and see if maybe, I don't know if it's possible, but the AA could maybe branch them on. I mean, Jeff, is that acceptable? I mean, flirting a line.
Maybe they could, because it's school type, teacher type, AA, I don't know, maybe.
We can check with the AA.
Okay, going through that process is just a matter of adding their name for that.
Insurance certificate.
Insurance certificate, yeah.
I mean, based on Michael's anecdotal tale of the henna tattoo.
She's okay, by the way.
Well, that's okay, but you're talking about face painting. I mean, I can see
Somebody could poke their hand.
child be allergic to the material, and there's no way for the folks to know. I mean, it isn't like they're incompetent. I mean, just stuff happens.
Like a peanut type thing, a reaction.
And then to the point, you get it in your eye or in your ear. I think.
So what are you gonna do? Look into
We'll reach out
somebody
to the AA.
sponsoring it?
We'll check with the AA first.
Okay.
Sorry to get in more work.
I know, because we don't have a lot of, we have what, one more meeting, two more work sessions? Two more work sessions between now and then.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, but
We can make it work it happen.
They just sent out the
I
Jeff.
got more news, so, remember?
If they find somebody to sponsor them and include them on their certificate, then they're fine. They just get their application. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. We don't really necessarily need.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully we don't come back to the table.
Okay,
You shouldn't hear from us again.
and that's a natural transition to our next item, which is the summer meeting dates. And the only date that I see that creates a conflict is August 7th, because that's Delran Night Out. So that would be our public meeting, meaning that July 3rd would be the last public meeting before that. And August 7th, I'm assuming we would push the public meeting to the 14th. Which would be the first, and then just stick with one work session in August, which is typically our schedule. But August 7th would be, we would not, obviously would not have a council meeting on the same night as Delran Night Out. Everybody with me on that?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so then what would you do for the work sessions in August then? Just have?
The August would just be the 28th. You know, typically do what we did in June,
Right,
which was have, move it to the second meeting would become the public meeting, and the fourth Tuesday would become the work session.
That's not unusual, something.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in August, yes, July 24th. So in July, we'd have the meeting on the 3rd, the night before 4th of July, and then the next week would be the work session, the 24th would be the work session, and then in August, we would have the 14th as the public meeting and the 28th as the work session. It just means that someone's texting me. I can't shut that off, but I can shut off the notification. No, I gotta leave that up here, Patty. Patty, can you still hear us okay?
I can't hear Tyler or Mike very well. If they could speak up or else it's a bit harder.
Okay.
Everything else I can hear.
Okay. So we're gonna use almost our outdoor voices.
Thank you.
So we're okay with those meeting dates, right?
yeah.
Yes.
What- Next on the agenda is the transfer station request, and is this a contractual issue?
Yeah, I'm not done completing reviewing this, but that is the only item, is that when we sign up or do our agreement for recycling services, historically, they have included language in there that indicates that our solid waste stream has to go to Burlington County landfill. They want to ensure that they continue to get that waste flow in exchange for them providing all the cost for the recycling. And I just want to make sure they're okay with this. This ultimately ends up at the landfill, so it's a technicality. They only want to take it to the transfer station in those instances when they have severe weather or an emergency where the landfill gets closed down. Take it to the transfer station, and then they would haul it, or haul an equal amount to the landfill. So I'm waiting for a response on that from recycling people. As soon as I have that, I'll get back to you. I had hoped to have it before we met tonight, but I don't have that.
This is just for recycling, not trash.
This is for trash. But the agreement that we have is with the recycling program. The recycling program mandates that our trash goes to the Burlington County landfill.
Gotcha. So you're gonna get back to us?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have our reports. Jamie, you have anything for us tonight?
Just that we've been working today on the migration to the Office 360.
Yeah.
365.
It's
So,
only working 360.
yeah, it's only working. I've been running around to install the installer on everybody's computer. I don't think anybody here uses Outlook for their township webmail. They're either logging in through, so you're probably getting the same email, but at this time, there's not anything.
Well, I do.
You use Outlook.
I do.
Okay.
I use it on my phone as well, so when we get instructions on
You should have them in your email. You should have the migration.
from
email
prior.
It can be email on Monday.
Okay.
On any computer
Only
that's.
about 7.
Any computer that you're using Outlook on, you'll need to download.
I thought it was legit.
Yeah.
I know, I didn't think it was either,
Yeah,
exactly.
and the same
I'm like,
thing, a lot of people sent it,
Yeah.
either deleted it, or, didn't really know what it was,
Yeah, I
so that's
thought it
why I
was
just
spam.
wanted to bring it up. And then, the only other thing is our blood drive is coming up July 3rd, same night as our public meeting, so if anyone was low on donors, so if anyone knows anybody that wants to sign up, from 1:30 to 6:30 p.m. That's it.
Okay, Jeff, anything for us?
No, the only two items that I was gonna report on, Jim's gonna report on anyway, so I'll let Jim just do it.
All right, Jim?
I think the two items Jeff is going to report on, and I will report on, is that one, is Jeff and I had a meeting today, two meetings today. One was with Matt Johnson and their designer for the bikeway improvements that are proposed along River Drive. We went over the layout, getting an understanding of what improvements they need to do to the road. We talked about how the township is looking into potentially, resurfacing that road and how the two projects will coordinate with each other. So we still have to trade some information back and forth, and we'll come back to you with a more formal report and then, plan of action. They do not plan on doing the road probably. Right now they're getting their outside agency permits. They need some pretty extensive permits through Army Corps and through DEP. It's about 4 miles of trail that they're actually putting in. So we'll get back to you on that.
4 miles in town?
No, the whole project's about 4 miles. Their timeline, they think that next year, middle to late next year is when they're actually gonna be able to start installing it, just based on the outside agencies they still need to get, and, final designs are still working. I don't know if there's any questions on that. There was one question I.
Roads?
What's that?
The road's gonna be touched at all?
Yes, they are going to be touched, but not like a full-blown resurfacing that we were expecting. They just want to do some curb realignments, curb repairs, some handicap repairs, mostly between Alden and Norman, because that's where the bike trail is going to be within the pavement.
Grading on a road will not be addressed.
Grading?
Grading.
No.
Like the runoff.
No. So that's something
that was a question that we got.
Yeah. That's something we have to talk about though, because the roads do need to be resurfaced before they do this project. So there's going to be some coordination if, the township wants to see the road resurfaced, which we have talked about it, potentially putting it was like high on the priority list, working out something with them, and a way to get that done, and, who's going to do what and pay for what. That's, the details got to get worked out. Because there's, in that area, there's some curb work that has to get done in order for their project to work, but the road has to be resurfaced before they do it.
So we weren't sure when we made some decisions. We thought it was going to be, they were going to do their work and then we resurface. Now we
Yeah.
have to resurface before they do what they do.
Either we resurface or they resurface and some sort of cost share, details like that's gonna work. But yes, the road needs to be resurfaced, because you can't do what they're doing and then resurface after the fact.
When are they planning to do the work again?
Next year sometime.
Next year,
It's still up in the air. They didn't say specific next year, but
What's
most
the
likely.
turnaround time of us to get something authorized, even to get something in place before?
It would be next year.
Yeah.
So, the timing of your road programs is,
That's what I'm getting.
budgeting in the spring and construction in the fall.
Will
So
that meet their schedules, Mike?
that is if we do it though,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's,
If you do the timeline that you did for the previous program where you did the capital, you did a temporary capital budget in January, you'll probably meet the timeline, based on what they told us.
like 6 months ago, their timeline was have it this fall.
No, I know,
So
I
there's
know
still
it's
fluid
changing.
still,
I
I
get you.
kinda
Yep.
understand, but there's definitely gonna be some coordination work.
Okay.
Next, we also met out at Abrasive Alloys with DEP. DEP requested a meeting. The HSDRF division, which handles the funding for site remediation projects, which Abrasive Alloys is under. They provided the funding for the recent site investigation work that was done at the site. We had a new application in for additional funding for what's called a remedial investigation, where the areas of concern that were originally identified were investigated, and now, areas where there was some contamination found, they have to do more testing to kind of delineate it horizontally, vertically, to eventually develop a work plan to remediate it. So the meeting was good. They had our application for a while. They're generally approving our application with some conditions, but they're gonna be providing funding pretty soon, within the next probably, month or two, to start working at, remedial investigation work. And they also made some suggestions about starting the demo process, saying that we're far enough along with the investigations that there's no reason why we shouldn't, look to get that done. So, I'm gonna work with Jeff to try to put out a proposal or a RFP out, or a bid out for soliciting some quotes from demolition contractors to see what it's gonna take to do that work. We think that the price is gonna be relatively reasonable, considering how much metal's out there for recycling and for salvaging, that it should, offset the cost for actual labor to do the work.
That place is a big mess.
Yeah.
And the best, the sooner we can do it with the safety of the kids and people getting back there, the better.
Yeah, I think that was the good news from the, or
Yeah.
one of the pieces of good news from the meeting is that they seem to be okay with us moving ahead with the demolition even without remediating the property, which would allow us to do that
Great
quicker.
news,
And
yeah.
if anybody's been back there and you know what kind of concern it raises if you go under those metal buildings, it's a kid haven and something that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. Okay.
Great.
Other than that, I want to let you know that the road program is advertised, and the bid opening is going to be July 19th. So we're going to receive bids on July 19th and then have it on discussion for the 24th. And if possible, based on the meeting schedule, I would award it that night, but it will depend on how the bids come in. Hartford Road is ready for advertisement. That will be advertised once the bond ordinance is finalized for the increase in the budget. Pheasant Road the work should be done in a few weeks. We had a pre-con meeting the other day. And the sidewalks, the bids are due the week after July, it's the July 17th, I think, the sidewalks.
Which sidewalks are these?
The Phase 2 sidewalks on Route 130, which is the southbound side. What's that?
Isn't that what we did last week?
Oh, that's what we opened last week,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Oh,
Last Thursday.
yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm getting my products confused. Yeah, no, actually, bids came in, they were favorable.
Where is it on Route 130?
The southbound side, in various locations.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much from Fairview Boulevard down to Simmons.
Do we have a date yet with the county, with the, or
No.
we were talking a date of
We're talking about
11th or
something, yeah, I asked them for, we sent over the plans for Hartford Road and some existing conditional plans for all of Hartford Road to first get their approval for the project we're doing, even though that's Township Road.
Right.
We encroach into the county's right of way, and we have a traffic control plan, so that has to get approved by the county. But we're also want to talk about possible the county taking over Hartford Road, so we send them like an existing condition plan for the entire length of Hartford Road, even though our project is just Bridgeboro and Morristown. We should have that on the next workshop, which is July 10th.
No. Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
Sorry.
we should probably have that on the, I'll talk with Jen about giving you something for discussion.
Now, we're going to be presenting to them
Yeah.
in regards
yeah.
to trying to do a trade-off.
Well, that's probably something for closed session.
I got you. Okay.
And then, yeah, so we're trying to have that meeting, we asked for a date for the end of that week, so, but subject to be determined, sometime in the middle of July.
Gotcha.
And the roof there, they're progressing very nicely with the roof. They pretty much completed all the demo and they're starting to work on the cap sheet. They still have to do the trim and the skylight and stuff like that, but that's,
I
nearly.
heard there's some electrical requirements that have to be done or something.
There is one issue that came up today, and that is that when they're working around, they're on the roof around the air conditioning system, there's some electrical conduit and some work that needs to be redone. It's not, when I say redone, it's electrical work, it's not the roof. That we're gonna have to do a time and materials on in order for them to complete that work around there. So the air conditioner is going to be off on Friday to allow them to do that work around.
It's going to be hot.
Yeah.
Just come.
So they're gonna try to pump it on Thursday.
Put a pool up there.
Who's doing that? Who's doing that?
The main thing is, while we're doing this roof and everything that we're doing, let's try to uncover everything that we can so we don't have anything to have to redo or have any issues. I mean, that is something I'm glad that we came across. I mean, it has nothing to do with the roof bit, but that kind of stuff, it's great to find out ahead. It's like the PSC&G, for example. We'll do the roads and all of a sudden they want to break over our road, so.
Yeah, I mean, we ran into a couple of those issues throughout the project, got some, conduits put through
Good.
for the dryer vents, some things, the telecommunications that first aid needed. So I
Whatever
thought it
we
was,
needed,
yeah.
exactly.
So, okay.
Good. Anything else?
Not right now. Anybody else has any questions?
No.
Great.
No. Doug, anything for us tonight?
Not a report, a comment and an action item. Last week, or the last meeting, was interesting. The subject matter didn't catch me off guard, but the intensity of it caught me off guard. I should have acted then, and I didn't, and, but I am tonight. It's clear that the mayor doesn't want our firm as a solicitor, and with all due respect to council, and I appreciate your vote of confidence, and appreciate you allowing us, or wanting us to stay on, we really are the mayor's selection, and I have to respect that, and I always have, I want to make sure the mayor has legal counsel that he wants here, and it's not us. And I should have acted last week. It just caught me off guard, or last meeting, it caught me off guard, and instead of just saying, okay, thank you for having us, and we appreciate it, because we do. We appreciate this is our 10th year, and the average lifespan of a solicitor in a town is 4 years, and this is our 10th year, and so we really appreciated everything and enjoyed, all the new people and working with everybody, but we're gonna step down as solicitor to let the mayor select his legal counsel.
So, when will that be effective?
Immediately. We'll stay on and put out an RFQ, unless you've done it already. I think it's probably stale what you put out. Put something out quickly tomorrow.
Will you stay till we get a replacement?
If you're committed to getting it done as quickly as humanly possible, then we'll stay. Because, look, we don't want to leave you in the lurch. So if you're committed to getting it done quickly and selecting somebody so that we can move on.
What's the quickest we can get it out and get it back?
I don't think we have to go out to RFP. I think it's just my selection. And I think at that point, you guys just, I believe, I don't know. I have to look into what the process is with this. This is catching me off guard as well. I appreciate your honesty and your being upfront about it, Doug, seriously. Unfortunately, and I'm just going to give my talk, unfortunately, we ran into some situations that I guess didn't work. I mean, there was some misdirection and misinterpretations that were provided to me, and it resulted in some issues that caused effects for my reputation as well as council's. And as far as I'm concerned, I think it is in the best interest of myself and the town that this does happen, but I do appreciate your honesty and being upfront.
Yeah, I'll say this, I'm definitely not going to get into an argument with you, not into the mud with it. I think the advice that the firm, that me in particular, gave is spot on, absolutely spot on with the information that we have. I've reviewed it several times, and I feel very, very comfortable and confident with it, but it's becoming a distraction. We're carpetbaggers. Jim, professionals, we are. We don't live here. We don't live here, we make money. Jim makes money here. But we're invited guests, and we appreciate the privilege of serving, and if I'm becoming a distraction, or if our firm's becoming a distraction, we don't want that. We appreciate just allowing us to be here, God, for the longest time. I mean, it's been really a privilege.
So let me ask you a couple of procedural questions. I believe that this would create the vacancy at this point, and that we need to fill that vacancy. Do we not have to go out to RFP or RFQ to fill a vacancy?
If you want, look, I'll give you my legal opinion because I'm still on the clock. Okay,
Right.
and then you can take it if you want to or not take it, but you still have to go through the fair and open process. Right? You still have to go through the fair and open process. I can stay on interimly, shortly. I mean, you can wrap this up by your next public meeting as a resolution. Pick your solicitor.
I think isn't the process of being able to put, isn't the process me being able to put an interim in place prior to going out?
Can I make
Yeah, you probably.
Please. My understanding, and Doug, thank you for your service. We didn't always agree, but it doesn't mean.
Yeah, no, it's good.
It doesn't mean you
It's
didn't
good
work
debate.
hard.
Good
You
debate.
You work hard, and you both know this is the way it is. My understanding was that if this situation were to occur, that that our labor attorney would be willing to serve in the interim. Is that a potential solution so that we can put out the
I
RFP?
I think you can do that. First of all, your labor attorney is still Stu.
Yes.
He's fabulous. Fabulous. Great solicitor, I think the world of him. And we do a great job here, without a doubt, we do a great job. And we would probably spend a little time with him as interim and enjoy him so much that we'd probably make him, well, I don't.
And I respect it. The information I got from him was really thorough, but he said that, you know, he was not comfortable, you know, if you chose not to stay, that he would possibly likely have interest in doing that, but not that if you were fired and he was replacing you, which I can respect, it's a professional courtesy, yeah. And, but I think that he's somebody that we already work with that's comfortable, and it also.
I think he's fabulous.
And in respect to, like, you know, the council is, you know, in all due respect, Mr. Mayor, protects the council, because he, you know, if you suggest someone that the council doesn't like, and that person gets turned down, you know, then you'll have to suggest someone else. But we know who.
I know, and I would have to stay, Mike.
Well, you would
really
have to stay, which
seriously,
is,
I'm hoping that you make a decision tonight.
Well, that would be
Because
great.
truth be told, you know, when the mayor wanted us to be appointed this last year, I said, look, man, as long as my wife's sick, there's no secret about that. And so I said, don't make me go to the meetings. You know, I want to be close to home. And tonight, unfortunately, is not a good night for us, but, so I want to rush home after this. But I, you know, so, you know, get me out of here. Like, no, look, but don't take that the wrong way. I truly appreciate all the time that I've been here. But
Well, I guess I'm asking the council, is that a solution while we advertise and follow the process? Because in this case, Mr. Long's absolutely right, to just bypass the process, even if it's not really.
Patty, you have the floor.
Yeah.
I just would like to have, if Mike could speak up
Oh.
a little bit closer to him, I'm trying to.
Mike, slide over.
Hear most of what he says, but I want to be sure I'm listening to what
Well,
everything he says.
they put you in the hallway, that's why. Now, anyway, my recommendation was this, is that and this is just based on my understanding, is that the labor attorney would be willing, only under the conditions that, you know, that Doug and his firm, you know, left voluntarily from their service to the town, and that he be appointed the interim solicitor, so that, you know, for two things. First, I'm sure the mayor would like to have some time to choose someone, but in reality, it also, you know, this is a system that's supposed to work back and forth. There's supposed to be checks and balances, and that would allow everybody to work with somebody that they know for the time being, and that would also give the council the opportunity to consent or not consent to a full-time replacement, you know, a permanent replacement, and protect kind of like, you know, both sides of that check and balance. If everybody's in agreement, I think this is a really very simple, easy solution to somebody that we know, somebody we worked with before and trust. And then the mayor can go through the process of maybe selecting someone, or if it's not him, someone, you know, but it would still have to come in front of the council to be approved. It still needs to be consented by the council, and I know that there are some concerns, and I share them just like everyone does. You know, everybody wants the same thing, which is what's the best for the town. Not everybody has the same idea of what that is, so let's let the checks and balances do what they're supposed to do. And like Doug saying, it's like, you know, his wife is sick, he has other things to attend to. And I'm sure this is, as much as a distraction, I think it is for everybody, so in everybody's mind here. I can't imagine, because I've been through it with my wife with multiple sclerosis, and it's brutal when your wife is ill, and, I'd rather see him be happy and comfortable too, and doing what he needs to do.
Thanks,
So,
Okay, thank you, Mike.
thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Patty.
Okay, we'll put you back in the
Patty,
hallway.
you want to talk, Patty?
Well,
Did you have more to say?
Is it my turn around yet, or are you
No.
still?
Okay.
No, we're still in Doug's report.
Oh, my God.
1
in 10 years.
Yeah, his one report. So I have a couple of foggy issues that I want to make sure are clear.
And then I would like to
You
say
can leave
something.
that, you can leave that there. Can you hear me okay, Patty?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, well, thank you, Doug, for helping us get out of this quagmire. I think we should, only because of the depth and breadth of the issue, I still think we should keep Brian as our co-attorney. Because unless there's something that, if we can, only
Look, you guys
because
are very
we are
close.
so close to this.
And you'll talk, let's
Exactly.
not really talk now, but I just for the expense purpose, I think, to get somebody
Just-
up to speed at the end of the day.
Maybe you could demonstrate to everyone what the judge would say at this point in the process. If we said, oh, by the way, we're changing attorneys.
I don't even
It
want to
would,
say.
it would be very painful.
Yes, it would be painful.
Yes.
All right, so, and I just want to be clear on what we're talking about when we say interim. Are we saying now until there's RFPs come in and opened and that, or are we saying now until the end of the year when we would normally reorganize anyway?
Up to council, really.
So, if we, you know, I know we're talking about Stu, if we are saying we would appoint Stu, if Ken is prepared to say, hang on, fellas, if Ken is still, if Ken is prepared to nominate Stu, and we're prepared to accept that nomination, then that certainly simplifies the process. If it's legal, if we have to put him on as a interim, and then we have to go through the fair and open process, and hopefully, if in that little sample that he gets of us, he still submits, and we can continue his appointment, I think everybody's in favor of that. I mean, we haven't voted on anything, it just.
Well, the only reason I used interim there was that, I think that if we were to make a permanent appointment right this minute, I think that we would not be doing, we would not be following the process.
Exactly.
Right.
I don't understand.
That wouldn't be, it may be perfectly legal, it's not the way that everyone here does things.
I want to start doing things, seriously, I want to make sure we do everything the right way. And I think if we have to do it as an interim, we do it as an interim, and we go forward after that.
Well,
Follow the process.
you couldn't have Stu fill out the term
Right.
until the end of the year. You're just gonna do it legally.
Okay,
You
so-
could have him fill it out in the interim and go out for RFQs and get submittals, and then make your within a reasonable period of time, make your selection.
All right, so what about the 20-day transition? Is that something that we need to act on, Stu, to get him involved
Stu's already under contract, so you can move him into an interim position
easily?
tomorrow morning. Yes,
And
absolutely.
then you would transition?
Yeah, we
with
transition
him?
all the files over to him, whatever files we have over to him. Just get him up to speed quickly on, generally speaking on COA, so he knows, he could at least know what the heck's going on.
But we would still keep Brian?
Yes, Brian would be the attorney, but the solicitor should know what's going on. It'd be an easy transition. I've known Stu, many lives, by the way, for 30 years. So.
So I guess there's two questions. The first question is, would Ken want to nominate Stu? And if so, then I would ask council if they would be interested in approving that nomination.
I'm so good.
Hang on, Pat.
No, it's okay.
One step at a time,
She
Pat.
may have something to say. Go ahead, Pat.
Just having listened to Mike's explanation and Doug, and thank you, Doug, and your life might be a little more sane as time goes on, but I think it sounds like a great solution to get our council moving forward, and I do think having Stu Platt being part of the town already, knowing the people, working with some of the people, I just think it's a very logical, I hope, Ken, you go along with it, I think it's a very logical and transition, a very easy transition, and for me, I think, to me, interim sounds like till the end of the year, as opposed to starting someone and then starting someone new. I think if that's legal, it could be that way. I think that seems like the best way to make this a workable situation for everyone involved, and especially for the good of our town. And I would go along with, with having Stu in that capacity. If it's, like you said, Gary, if it's legal and
Right.
and you accept it.
Patty, judging from the nodding, the shaking of heads in the room, it's not legal to do that. What I think we have, the process would be if Ken were to nominate Stu and at his
He
convenience,
still has to apply.
then
But
we could approve him as interim, and then we would still have to go to RFQ, and then hopefully he would apply, and we would select the best candidate, and hopefully that would be Stu, or whoever Ken is going to recommend beyond that. In the meantime, he would be the interim and would be there until we go through the formal process of appointing an interim to the end of the year. But we could not appoint him tonight or next meeting or whenever to the end of the year legally.
I understand.
Is that a point?
You can appoint him tonight.
We could appoint.
Interim.
All right, stop lobbying. It's up to Ken.
I'm just gonna give you
Have you done
my,
it yet?
I don't know, I didn't hear him do it yet.
I'm just gonna give you my short synopsis of what I know of Stu and how I think of Stu, and also, I did speak to my administration, and my administration was very satisfied with their relationship and their work dealings with Stu Platt as far as the labor attorney. So I do have full confidence in Stu. I also, I'm sure some of you remember, Gary, you probably do, and Mike, you may, when we were going against Stu, with the whole gun, the junior marksman. And he definitely is very aggressive, and he's very knowledgeable, and I feel very confident to go with Stu Platt as an interim. I'll say interim right now because we will follow the process, and I will go out to RFQ and review the proposals to come in, and we'll go from there.
Is that a nomination?
So I do nominate Stu Platt as our township solicitor as an interim replacement for right now.
I think before we ask for a vote, I just want to, has anyone checked with Stu that he's available to do these meetings?
No, I just made the decision to drive up.
I did speak to Stu because when this was being discussed, I was asked because, I mean, there was some concern of whether or not he would even be considered. So I did reach out to him. I did mention the days. He does handle a lot of different towns. He has 4 people. He knows his responsibility. He feels he has to be here. We will work the schedule out, but yes, he's aware of our schedule, our Tuesdays.
So I'm going to take from that you feel confident that he'd be able to make it?
Yes.
Okay, so help me, because we've never done this. Don't get too excited yet. So we have a nomination from the mayor of appointing an interim solicitor. Can we just act on that?
I think you can.
We
Yep,
can.
You can act
So-
right now.
So, you're still here to the end of the meeting.
I know.
We're not done yet. So if that's the case, then I would ask for a nomination to accept.
Is this by resolution?
Yep.
Is this by resolution? All right, give me a number.
2018-122.
122, play that number, Doug. So I think, can we do both in one resolution? Can we accept Doug's resignation and then have to do a second resolution to appoint the interim solicitor? Or can they be?
You don't need a resolution to accept my resignation. Just, that's a motion.
Okay,
Voice
so
vote,
let's do this first, so that there's an opening to fill. So I need a motion to accept Doug Long's,
Grace Marmero.
Grace Marmero's, I'm getting there, Doug Long's resignation of the firm Grace Marmero as our township solicitor. Do I have a motion to accept their resignation?
So moved.
Second.
We need a voice vote or roll
All
call?
in favor?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, okay, well,
Now,
thank you very much, Douglas, for your
Yes, thank you
service.
for your
Pleasure.
service.
It's
And
been an
Okay.
absolute pleasure, enjoyed every bit of it.
So, now I need
pass the word
resolution.
on to Al as well.
I will, absolutely. I called them on the way here and told them I was gonna do it.
So, let me get this finished, wait, you stop interrupting.
Mr.
So,
President, just one thing.
Yes.
Just please, hurry, can we hurry? I got a piece, okay? I'm never gonna do this.
All right, so.
On record.
It's on video.
It's on video.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's bad. Well, I don't want.
All right, so quiet down. So, I need a motion to approve resolution 2018-122, accepting the mayor's nomination for Stuart Platt and his firm to be our interim solicitor.
So moved.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so
Let
Patty
Patty,
got
let
you.
Patty take it.
And Dan, you gonna second that?
No, let Tyler say
Tyler, second that? And you're gonna do a roll call?
it.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Colodi?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Ketchum?
Aye. All right, so we're gonna allow Mike to have a quick bio break.
Yeah, thank you.
Will this be?
And that concludes my report.
I'm
I'll
not
be
gonna,
right back.
we're not gonna stop the meeting, Mike.
No, no, you don't have to.
But go ahead, knock yourself out. All right, so, wow. All right, well, that was, something. So, we have no more of our, staff or management here, so I'm gonna go right to council's reports. Mr. Schwartz has, indicated he has no report. Dan, you have any report for us tonight?
No report.
Tyler, any report for us tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Long, for your service, and Mr. Platt will do well. I never met him, but the administration, the mayor, all says good things, so you're well, we go well.
So,
Thank you.
great, thank you, Tyler. And I too thank Doug for, oh, that's right, Patty, I'm sorry, I missed you. You weren't in the same seat. So Patty, you have a report for us tonight? Jim?
No, like everyone else does, thank you very much for your time with us. Even in the bad times, we appreciate your service. And, I wish you well. I wish I was there to make the last cake for you, so I owe you one. And I have no other report than to wish you well.
Thank you, Patty, I wish you well.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And other than thanking Doug for helping us out of a bind, and for your service and advice over the years, I thank you. I have no other report. Ken, you have a report for us?
Yeah, I have a report. Doug, seriously, we've been through thick and thin,
Absolutely.
all right?
You're a dear friend,
And
man.
I know that, and you are to me as well.
Amen.
Okay? I mean that, and you know I
I know.
do. Okay. There is something I do have good news about. The good news that I have is there is a new business coming into town. I mentioned to you briefly about them. It's called Carnegie Pharmaceuticals. They are going to be located at 600 Delran Parkway. They have a plan to be here for a while. They started with moving 14 employees down, something like that. They hired 10 Delran residents already. They plan on, with their growth, to go to almost 100 Delran employees. I'm sorry, 100 employees, which they're going to be reaching out to Delran residents. The good story is, they actually are sponsoring the Delran Night Out, and they've sponsored $5,000.
Wow.
The other thing I wanted to mention to you, if you're available, on Thursday at 11 o'clock, they are going to be doing a tour of their facility. Yes. Probably gonna go, I think Jeff's gonna be going, the chief needs to go because they wanna talk over some safety, security stuff with a pharmaceutical business, but, we're planning on probably going over around 11:15. I think they're gonna have some light type, maybe, I don't know, who knows, it's breakfast or donuts or whatever, but, whoever on council would like to attend, feel free to do so. And that is coming up Thursday on the 28th.
What's the name of the company again?
Carnegie Pharmaceutical. Very nice guys. They actually, I think they were originally in Princeton. Very nice guys, and very sharp. I mean, very sharp guys, so.
You said to Ken about 11:45?
No, 10:45 is about what time we're gonna be leaving around here to go there. It's at 11 it starts, so.
600 Delran Parkway.
And that's pretty much it, but the 5,000.
Thank you. That's good, I'm sure.
So hopefully that'll help your face painting maybe.
Maybe it will.
I help with the insurance.
We'll still try the AA.
I agree, yeah, try that, but
All right, so I need a motion to go into public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Patty? Okay, opposed?
No, okay.
No. All right, so we're in public, we'll do it the way we always do it. We'll go around the room, starting from my left. And you have any comment for us, sir?
John Schmidt, Gloucester City, New Jersey. Where it all started. Thank you. I love it.
Thank you. Jim, anything? No. Bob?
Bob Gilbert, 75 Stewart Avenue, Delran. I only have one question. I heard the stuff about the bike trails and everything, but I didn't hear anything about replenishing the bank to any degree.
Good question. We talked about that. Are we gonna be able to take the dirt that they're gonna, remember we talked about that, Tim?
We did talk about that today. What you're talking about is actually on the eroded portion and restoring that.
That and even what's there existing, if they can build that up even, because it'll keep the water,
Yeah, we spoke about that with the engineer and the county about.
It would be nice to fill in what's that's gone.
We're working on a plan for that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
But,
hard.
I mean, if they fill in what's already gone, a little bit of it, and then can fill the bank on an angle or something, that way they...
Yeah, they're not gonna be, so if you take like the top of the berm now towards the river, that's eroded away, they're not touching that. But where it is, the grassy area of the berm on the roadside, their plan right now is just to put the bikeway in at grade, other than with some minor cuts and fills to, keep it level. We asked them to look into about taking whatever excess material they have to use to build up the berm in areas where it's lowest, in order to keep those, more frequent storms from coming over. So we're working on it. There's some permitting issues, and they've agreed to work with us on it to the maximum extent that they can. We're gonna try to work to supplement some of the permits to get them the permission to do it. So it's definitely, we're looking into it.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Gilbert?
Nothing.
Michael? Nothing?
No.
Patty?
Nothing.
Chuck? All right, so motion to come out of public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, Patty. It's a delay, Patty, I gotta get used to that. All right, so I need.
Yeah, I was gonna do it tonight.
Motion approved. I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Don't everybody rush?
Aye. Opposed? All right, so we're in executive session. Now, look, Michael, this is